we are not continuing with that. Go to the next module, that is ecosystem is completed. So next module is about biodiversity and its conservation. I hope you guys have understood everything from the ecosystem, because there are some terms which are related to that. So what is biodiversity? What does this picture show you? Flora, fauna, both, or everything is there. There's a bird, there's a tiger, there's a shark, there's a tree, there's a flower, there's a stream, there's a penguin. Bio means life. Diversity means variety. We are talking about different variety of life. Now, definition of biological diversity, that is biodiversity called in short, is that part of nature which includes the differences in genes among the individuals of a species. The variety and richness of all the plants and animal species at different scale in space, locally in a region, in the country and the world, and various types of ecosystem, both terrestrial and aquatic, with a defined area. Now, what does the big definition of biodiversity means? We broke up biodiversity into biological diversity means variety. So in short, it is called biodiversity. What is it all about? It is about different genes of living organisms. That is the different genes of animals, different genes of plants. One type of genes of plants will not be available in different location or zone because of the climate over there. The temperature, the humidity, the sunshine, all these factors matter for the type of genes to be present in a particular place, where the in a local region, that means in your area where you live, in a region which is in a different country in the world, okay. Also, the scale of space depends upon which region you are in. How is the region distributed over the planet Earth? Is frigid zone, temperate zone, and tropical zone. So in these zones, different climatic conditions are found. And this is one of the major reasons for inhabitants to establish themselves in different zones as per their genes. Suppose somebody is born in Alaska. Okay. For him, minus 15 degrees Celsius might not be a big deal. But somebody who is born in Singapore, for him, minus 15 degrees Celsius will be a big deal. So in this winter, northern winters, tourists come to warmer climates for their holidays, okay, on beaches, in tropical areas, rainforest. So basically speaking, they come down to thaw their bones, which have become frozen in those climates. And when they come to India, I've seen a lot of tourists going to Rajasthan in summertime, which we as local inhabitants, as far as the country is concerned, we Indians are the local inhabitants. We don't go because गर्मी के time राजस्थान में नहीं जाना है, सर्दियों के time जाएंगे तो temperature थोड़ा कम रहेगा. But these people come and they enjoy because their body itself is adapted to a very cold climate. So they feel soothing in a warm climate. Okay. Similarly, all the plants and animals, they grow in certain area. Okay. So if you uproot them from one place or take an animal from one place into another climatic conditions where which is not conducive for their thriving, as they were born in a separate place and they are adapted to that type of climate. So various types of ecosystems are existing in both terrestrial as well as aquatic. Terrestrial is on land, aquatic is in water within a defined area. So they generally don't go. There are very few aquatic animals which migrate, but there are too many birds which migrate. Birds are on the terrestrial ecosystem, and whales, fish, shark, all these are in the aquatic ecosystem. It is known that even whales and sharks, they migrate from one place to another. When it is too cold, they come towards warmer climate. When it is too warm, they go towards colder climate. They are huge animals. They have the energy to move from such large distances. The word biodiversity originates from the Greek word bios. Bios in Greek is life. And the Latin word diversitas is variety or difference. The whole word biodiversity generally therefore means variety of life. Remember, this comes as a short answer, sometimes as MCQ also. The meaning of the biodiversity definition. Biologists most often define biodiversity as the totality of genes, species, and ecosystem of a region. Okay. Now, genes, totality of genes is defining the species, and the species in that area, in that region, are defining that type of ecosystem. An advantage of this definition is that it seems to describe most circumstances and presents a unified view of the traditional three level of at which biological variety has been identified. There is diversity in species, there is diversity in genetic formation as per the ecosystem in which they belong. For example, if you say aquatic ecosystem, it is freshwater and saltwater. Freshwater means ponds, rivers, lakes, streams, all these stuff. And in the saltwater, shallow water ecosystem, the ecosystem in aquatic, they grow as per the layers, as per the level. Okay, just give me a second. Okay. Sorry. Right. Okay. Now, what we're talking about is why is biodiversity important? So everything that lives in an ecosystem, all the organisms, okay, living, non-living, is part of the web of life, including the humans. The web consists of multiple people, singular, when there are different species, different types of diversities in the species, then you will see there's a web forming, the web which is interrelated with each other. Each species of vegetation and each creature has a place on the earth and plays a vital role in the circle of life. Plant, animals, and insect species interact with each other and depend upon one another for what each offers. Like insects, the earthworm in the soil. उसका क्या काम है? It is there. It creates burrows, small tiny burrows, which allows air to go into and oxygenate the soil, which makes the soil richer, such as food, shelter, oxygen, and soil enrichment. So what I just told you is about soil enrichment. Food, we know that the food chain we saw in the ecosystem, how the herbivorous animals are dependent on the vegetation and how carnivorous animals are dependent on herbivorous animals. So there are secondary consumers, there are primary consumers, and there are tertiary consumers. Shelter under the tree. Lot of animals take shelter, they build their nest, they make their houses, and oxygen which is given out by the trees is used for breathing. Maintaining a wide diversity of species in each ecosystem is necessary to preserve the web of life that sustains all living things. In his 1992 bestseller, The Diversity of Life, famed Harvard University biologist Edward O. Wilson, known as the father of biodiversity, said, "It is reckless to suppose that biodiversity can be diminished indefinitely without threatening humanity itself." So if we try to harm the nature or the other species in the nature or the fauna and flora in the nature, we are indirectly not going to get away without harming our own humanity. Okay? So this is the gist of biodiversity. How each type of species, which is diverse as per the ecosystem and genetic, can live in harmony with each other to flourish in that particular ecosystem. Genetic diversity, that is the one which we are talking about. The level of biodiversity refers to the total number of genetic characteristics in the genetic makeup of a species. It is distinguished from genetic variability, which describes the tendency of genetic characteristics to vary. So, how many types are there? Very difficult to do that. Even researchers are not able to do that. Okay. Just Okay, guys, I'm sorry, there's something come up important. So I will. You go and put it.
So you are on mute.
Just a second, give me a second. Something has come up very important. I will have to conclude the meeting today here only. We'll continue with
Okay,
this
sir.
tomorrow. So I will just take your attendance before we leave.